My name is Alan, 17 years old, the only son of a sports coach. From a young age, Dad taught me that men must be strong, no tears, no weakness, and I tried. I really tried. Early morning gym sessions, regular runs, smiling when praised, staying silent when I wanted to cry. But there was one thing I hid under my bed: drawings I didn't dare show anyone. Until Rowan walked into my life, I didn't realize I had been living the wrong role for too long. Rowan transferred in at the start of the semester. In a crowded class, he was like a still point. The first time I truly noticed Rowan was that afternoon. I saw him kneeling in the schoolyard, trying to pry open a rusted fence, even though his hands were scratched to the point of bleeding. A few days later, I caught him sitting alone in a corner of the yard, sketching a sunset. I stood at a distance, watching his strokes as if they were telling a wordless story. "Do you like it?" Rowan asked, without looking up. I was startled. You draw beautifully." "You draw too?" I intended to say no, but my voice came out, "I used to." Rowan stopped drawing and looked at me. His gaze didn't ask, "Why did you stop?" but simply said, "Ah, I see." As if he understood. After that, we started talking more. Short sentences, comfortable moments of silence. Once, Rowan asked where I wanted to go after school. I meant to say the gym, but suddenly it became, "How about your photo studio?" He smiled. "Sure, but I don't have anything special there, you know." Rowan took photos. I sat and watched. Sometimes he pulled me into the frame. "You don't need to smile," Rowan said softly. "Don't post, just be you." For the first time in my life, I didn't know how to respond. One afternoon, we sat on the steps behind the studio sharing a bottle of cold tea. The afternoon sun caught Rowan's hair as he laughed at my silly joke. "I really like this moment," Rowan whispered. I turned to him. "Why?" "Because you aren't pretending." My heart raced. Pretending what? Or pretending to be strong, pretending not to be lonely. Rowan looked at me, his eyes strangely bright. "You know, sometimes when I look at you, I see you bracing yourself so you don't break." I couldn't answer, because every word he said was true. And then, as a natural reflex, I took Rowan's hand. Gently, but enough for him to look up, eyes slightly surprised. Then his lips curved into a smile. "So, are you ready?" Rowan asked. I exhaled. "Will you wait for me?" "I already have." I thought I could keep this secret, but a classmate took a photo of us. And then, my dad found out. That afternoon, Dad called me home. Walking in, I saw my phone smashed on the floor. "I didn't train you for 17 years to become this." His voice was like thunder. I stood frozen. Mom was in the corner, silent. I didn't argue. I just silently walked into my room and locked the door. The following days passed like a fog. I didn't eat, didn't sleep. My phone buzzed constantly, but I didn't dare read Rowan's messages. On the third day, I opened my phone. Rowan's message appeared. "I don't want to be the reason you have to choose between family and yourself, but if you could choose again, I would still like you. Let's meet. I'm waiting." I looked at the words, and tears fell, uncontrollably. Mom knocked on the door. "Go eat something, son." I opened the door. My voice trembled. "If I live as my true self, will Dad still love me, Mom?" Mom didn't answer right away, but her tears fell first. The next day, Mom brought an old box of photos into my room. Inside was a paper with my childish handwriting. "I want to become an art genius. You are still my son, no matter who you are." Mom hugged me, and I cried like a small child. That night, I ran to the studio. Rowan was sitting there, hugging his camera, looking out the window. When he saw me, he stood up. He didn't ask, "Are you okay?" He just silently walked over and hugged me tight. I buried my face in Rowan's shoulder. "Have you been waiting long?" "No, I knew you would come." We sat there all night. Rowan talked about the photos he took last week. I talked about the photo box Mom gave me. I got home near midnight. I planned to sneak into my room, but heard Mom's voice from the living room. "Do you remember when he was 6? He drew a family picture, then cried because he was afraid it was ugly, afraid you'd be disappointed?" Silence. "For 17 years, you trained him like an athlete, but did you ever ask what he wants?" Dad's voice sounded tired for the first time. "I just wanted my son to be strong, not trampled by life." "But you are trampling him." Mom's voice trembled. "He's strong enough to live 17 years without daring to be himself. Do you know how much courage that takes? A long silence. Then Dad sighed. I don't know what to do. Then don't do anything. Just don't push him away any further. I quietly walked into my room, heart pounding. For the first time in days, I slept. Sunday morning, I grabbed my bag, planning to walk to school to meet Rowan. As the door opened, a voice rang out from behind. Get in the car, I'll take you. I turned around, surprised. Dad was standing by the car, keys in hand. In the car, the radio played softly. Sunlight streamed through the glass. No one spoke. But this time, the silence wasn't heavy. Nearing the school, Dad suddenly asked, Are you happy? I was startled, turned to look at Dad. I think so. Dad nodded, silent for a moment longer. Then he said, voice hoarse, Then that's okay. The car stopped. I was about to get out when Dad added, I'm not good at saying these things, but you're still my son. Tears welled up in my eyes. I nodded. I know, Dad. Dad patted my shoulder lightly, the first time in a very long while. Go on. I stepped out of the car and saw Rowan waiting at the school gate. He waved, smiling radiantly. I looked back, seeing Dad still sitting in the car, watching. When our eyes met, Dad gave a slight nod, then drove away. Rowan ran over. Your dad drove you? Yeah, I smiled. Dad drove me. So, is everything okay? I looked at Rowan, taking his hand. Not completely, but it's getting better. And the important thing is, I don't need to hide anymore. Rowan squeezed my hand back. You know, you're very brave. It's not that I'm brave. It's that I have you. We walked into the school, hand in hand. The sunlight was brilliant, and this time, I wasn't afraid anymore, because even if it's not perfect, at least I'm being myself, beside those who accept and love me just as I am.